watching their children suffer from malnutrition, and some have died. We cannot let this happen. We must act now. During the lean season, from May through September this year, there is an urgent need for increase.
In other news, the Federal Comptroller of Works, Lagos State, Olukorede Kesha, says the Jora Olopa Bridge will be examined thoroughly before repair. The federal government had shut down the bridge in Lagos State on Wednesday for the safety of the public over damage caused by vandals. While giving an update about the development yesterday, Mrs. Kesha says adequate scrutiny is necessary to aid the detection of other affected areas. She noted that before repair works can begin, a thorough examination of the affected place must be carried out to determine the stability of the existing pavement. She affirmed that the examination and repair work would take effect speedily to close up the damage, adding that the process would not be lengthy. In Sokoto, the State Police Commissioner Ali Kaigama has lauded police officers for rejecting an 800,000 naira bribe. His commendation came in a statement by the spokesman of the Sokoto State Police Command, Sanusi Abubakar, yesterday. It disclosed that on Wednesday, policemen on patrol attached to DOP's Sokoto along Birnin KB Road intercepted a vehicle loaded with 12 rolls of copper wires suspected to be from electric poles. The suspects, Rufai Sani, Ishao Abubakar, and Amadou Bello, on interrogation by the police, attempted to bribe them with a sum of 800,000 naira to allow passage, but the officers, it noted, took the money as an exhibit and brought the suspects with a vehicle to the State Criminal and Investigation Department for discreet investigation. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
Aminatu, the legendary Queen of Zazzau, is best known to historians as Queen Amina of Zaria, an old walled town and capital of the Hausa state of Zazzau. Amina was a great warrior and the first woman to rule the ancient kingdom of Zazzau. Her 34 years as queen witnessed an unprecedented expansion of Zazzau by conquests. Queen Amina of Zaria belongs to the class of Amazons by the might of her army and her strings of conquests. She opened Zaria to trans-border trade and was said to have initiated kola nut cultivation in the ancient kingdom. The Hausa Muslim figure was born in 1533 and died in 1610 at the age of 77 years. Folklores remember Aminatu, the Queen of Zazzau, as a brave, smart and talented leader whose giant statue now adorns the National Arts Theatre in Lagos, Nigeria, while many educational institutions bear her name. Western Spring Television identifies Queen Amina as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back on Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. Now to the rest of the stories. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has revealed that the governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawalle, is being investigated over allegations of corruption, award of phantom contracts, and diversion of over 70 billion naira. The EFCC said it was making the development known following recent attempts by the outgoing governor to cast aspersion on the integrity of the agency's fight against corruption. EFCC's Director of Media and Public Affairs, Osita Ngwaja, made this disclosure while addressing journalists at the Commission's headquarters in Jabi, Abuja. He noted that Governor Matawalle has been investigated for allegedly diverting money sourced as a loan from an old generation bank purportedly for the execution of projects across the local government areas of the state. The anti-graft agency also confirmed that a former Minister of Power, Salim Aman, who was recently arrested by its operatives over alleged 22 billion naira fraud, is still in detention.
The Commission would like to put the nation on notice to expect more of the kind of wide allegations made by Mr. Matawale, as those at the receiving end of EFCC's investigation are fighting back viciously. But the real issue with Matawale is that he is being investigated by the EFCC over allegations of monumental corruption, award of phantom contracts, and diversion of over 70 billion naira. That is the issue. 70 billion naira investigation. That is the issue. Now I'll give you a little insight into what we have found so far. The money which was sourced as loan from an old generation bank, purportedly for the execution of projects across the local governments of the state, was allegedly diverted by the governor through proxies and contractors who received payments for contracts that were never executed. It's a loan. The Commission's investigation so far revealed that more than 100 companies have received payments from the fund with no evidence of service rendered to the state.
In Osun State, Governor Ademola Adeleke has sacked the Iyaloja General of the state, Awawu Asindemade, and appointed Oyebode Aderonke Mary as replacement. It will be recalled that Mrs. Asindemade was appointed as Iyaloja General of the state under the administration of Rauf Aregbesola. Governor Adeleke, in a statement yesterday by his spokesman, Olawale Rashid, noted that Mrs. Oyebode's appointment was with all sense of responsibility and confidence in her ability to pilot the affairs of women in commerce. He described Oyebode as a strong leader of business women in the state, who has contributed immensely to the growth and development of commerce. However, when contacted, Mrs. Asindemade said she still remains the state Iyaloja General. Talking business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has said it is set to supply 300,000 barrels of crude oil to Dangote Refinery to begin its operations. This was disclosed by the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC, Mele Kyari, while delivering his address at the Nigeria Oil and Gas Opportunity Fair held at the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board Conference Center, Bayelsa. Dangote Refinery, a 650,000 barrels per day integrated refinery project, is due for its opening on May 22, 2023. Mr. Kyari said Nigeria must focus on gas production, adding that the country must begin to expand its gas footprint. According to him, the country will begin to succeed in creating the industrialization it craves for. Outside Nigeria, oil prices rebounded this morning from losses of more than 1% the previous day as investors turned cautiously optimistic over the fading risk of a U.S. debt default. Brent futures rose 0.9% to $76.55 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate U.S. crude climbed 0.8% to $72.42. Earlier this week, U.S. President Joe Biden and Speaker of the House of Rep, Kevin McCarthy, reiterated the aim to strike a deal to raise the $31.4 trillion federal debt ceiling. However, sentiment remains mixed as investors juggle optimism over avoidance of a U.S. debt default with inflation data that could portend more interest rate hikes from global central banks. Still in business, Walt Disney is scrapping plans to build a nearly $1 billion corporate campus in Central Florida that would have housed 2,000 employees amid its ongoing legal battle with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Disney Parks Chief Josh D'Amaro has said changing business conditions prompted Disney to reconsider its 2021 plan to relocate employees, including its Imagineers, who designed theme park rides, to a new campus in Lake Nona. It noted that given the considerable changes that have occurred since the announcement of the project, including new leadership and changing business conditions, the company decided not to move forward with construction of a campus. Mr. DeMaro, in an email to employees yesterday, said it was not an easy decision to make, but he believed it was on the right one. On the foreign scene, Chinese President Xi Jinping this morning unveiled a grand plan for Central Asia's development, from building infrastructure to boosting trade, taking on a new leadership role in a region that has traditionally been a Russian sphere of influence. Mr. Xi, in an address to a China Central Asia Summit in northwest China, said Beijing was ready to coordinate development strategies in the nations of the region and their modernization. Mr. Xi, later at a press conference with his Central Asian counterparts, said the summit had added new impetus to the development and revitalization, as well as inject positive energy into regional peace and stability. Mr. Xi hosted the leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. With its engagement, China has put itself at the forefront of a race for political influence and energy assets in the resource-rich region, with Russia distracted by its war in Ukraine. In the Middle East, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is in Saudi Arabia to attend an Arab summit where he will rub shoulders with leaders who shunned him for years in a major policy shift opposed by the United States and other Western powers. Ostracized by most Arab states following the crackdown on protests against his rule in 2011 and the ensuing civil war that killed 350,000 people, his government's readmission to the bloc is a strong signal that Assad's isolation is ending. A beaming Assad was received by Deputy Governor of Mecca region, Prince Badr bin Sultan, and Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abu Gheit, as he arrived yesterday in Jeddah, the host city. President Assad is expected to address the summit later today, along with other Arab leaders. However, ahead of the summit, the United States reiterated its opposition to normalization of relations with Damascus. Elsewhere, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky will join the Group of Seven summit in person on Sunday, a top official confirmed. Mr. Zelensky will be making his furthest trip from his war-torn country as G7 leaders unveil new sanctions on Russia for its invasion. Leaders from the Group of Seven nations agreed to new sanctions they said would starve Russia of G7 technology, industrial equipment, and services that support its war machine. The measures announced at the summit in Hiroshima include restrictions on exports of items critical to Russia on battlefield, as well as ones targeting entities accused of moving material to the front for Moscow. Meanwhile, hundreds of anti-war demonstrators have staged rallies in Hiroshima in the lead-up to the three-day event, carrying banners reading "No Nuclear War" and "No Imperialist G7 Summit" amid tight security. In sport, Jose Mourinho's Roma remain on track for a second European trophy in 2 seasons after a 0-0 draw at Bayer Leverkusen sent them through 1-0 on aggregate yesterday. The Europa Conference League holders created little in attack but defended doggedly as the increasingly frustrated home side peppered their goal in search of an equalizer. The visitor held on through 8 minutes of added time and will face either Sevilla in the final in Budapest in late May. Roma came into the game holding on to a narrow 1-0 lead thanks to a second-half goal from Rome-born midfielder Eduardo Bove in the first leg. Mourinho, known for his defensive tactics, has stayed true to form this Europa League season, with the Europa Conference League holders conceding just 3 goals in 8 knockout games on the way to the final. Still with football, West Ham reached their first European final for 47 years after yesterday's 1-0 victory at AZ Alkmaar clinched a 3-1 aggregate success in the Europa Conference League semi-finals. Pablo Fornals scored West Ham's winner in the final moments of a tense second leg to set up a clash with Fiorentina in the final in Prague on June 7. The Hammers last reached a major European final in 1976 when they were beaten by Anderlecht in the Cup Winners' Cup. West Ham have not won a major trophy since Trevor Brookings' goal beat Arsenal in the 1980 FA Cup final. David Moyes' side have made amends for that painful near miss by reaching the final of a competition much maligned in some quarters, but never again in East London.
It's hard enough to get to any final, never mind a European final, and let's be fair, look, West Ham, I don't know, I think it was at 45 years or somewhere here when the last time, so it's a big achievement for the club, and we were in a semi-final last year, so sometimes you can say it's a one-off, but maybe doing 2 years in a row, getting very close, but hopefully, as always, the bit now is to go and win the final. That's it. We're going home because we've got Leeds at the weekend, which is well, yeah. No, I can tell the players are like that as well, but look, that's football, and no, they keep coming around, but I think the London Stadium will be great on Sunday. So, and yet they're great. Supporters are great tonight. They really are. Terrific.
Before we end the news, here's a recap of our top stories. The 2 members of staff of the United States Consulate in Nigeria who were kidnapped during the attack on their convoy at Ogbari local government area in a number of states on Tuesday have been rescued by security operatives. The acting national chairman, Labour Party, Lamidi Apapa, has kept his word on returning to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal following his attempt on Wednesday. On the foreign scene, Chinese President Xi Jinping this morning unveiled a grand plan for Central Asia's development from building infrastructure to boosting trade. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. That ends News at 12. I am Opayamuni. Thanks for watching.